Hello, welcome to another episode of the only political podcast that doesn't mean anything it says, hosted by a retarded idiot from Canada who cares way too much about American politics. Today I have the Trump debate, I guess. I don't exactly know what this was. The Inquisition of Trump on the National Association for Black Journalists Conference in Chicago, which I didn't know was a thing. I didn't know we had a whole convention of black journalists, but I guess Trump went right into the gauntlet and sat next to this very aggressive lady. And I was having such a fun time watching it that I was like, oh, well, then I'm just doing this. So let's enjoy this together. This is the National Associations for Black Journalists interviewing the next president of the United States, Donald Trump.
As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact-check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media.
Thank God. God forbid I have to draw my own conclusions and do my own research. Let me just get the disciples of truth down on me at PolitiFact to tell me how many Pinocchios each statement has.
NABJ fact check. Again, the hashtag is NABJ fact check. We have a lot to get to and we do not want to waste any time. So let's bring out the former president of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump.
Coming out to. Can I kick it? Yes, we can. Can I kick it? Yes, we can. What is this? Oh, it's the National Association for Black Journalists. Of course they come out to a tribe called Quest. National Association for Black Journalists. When you go backstage, there's grape juice and watermelon for everyone. They have a great catering service. Free J's in every room.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you
Yo, he said nice to, am I crazy? He said nice to, how are you? Or nice to see you. And she just snuffed him off. Am I nuts? Did I hear that right?
Mr. Trump, Rachel Scott, BBC. Thank you. How are you?
He went, how are you to both of them? And she just snubbed him, looked straight at the ground.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words
Trump
like
say
animal
that?
and...
Did Trump say Obama was born in Kenya? Because that's hilarious. I actually love it. I want to hear the quote. I want to hear the video. I need somebody out there. You have the video of Trump saying, he was born in Kenya. He doesn't even know. What is he, Haitian? I don't know. Can he even be president from Haiti?
Rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Yo, if he just comes out and goes, well, if you don't know if you're voting for me or Kamala, then you ain't black, and just let it sit and be like, well, the last guy did that and won, so maybe I should try it. I'm trying his tactics. I don't do a good Trump.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer.
Holy shit. How is he so good at this? God, I wish I had this talent. I don't even know, I don't know if it's just spewing nonsense or I don't know, if you're just an average Joe Blow guy just watching this, you just and you're not, if you're actually partisan, you're not on either side of this, and you're just watching this, and you have no hate to Trump, and you're not completely biased, you just go, he just destroyed that lady. You're just you're late, you're gay, you're fake, this is dumb, this is a dumb question, you're mean, you're ugly. He just walked away from that so good, so much to the point that she feels the need to interject and make it, bring it back onto the question that she asked, the super, super inflammatory questions. It said, you hate black people, why should they vote for you?
Very nasty question. I have answered the question. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
Better than President Johnson who signed the Voting Rights Act.
For you to start.
That was one of the greatest quotes. I am the best president since Abraham Lincoln for the blacks. He skipped over Obama too, which is hilarious because, I get it. If you look at the policies and stuff like that, Obama didn't really do that much. He gave black people phones and shitty health care. That's what got a lot of votes for him. That's why he was saying he helped the black community. That doesn't help. That did not help them. Trump did. There was, I don't know how the numbers work anymore, but under Trump, it seemed like it was record low unemployment for everyone, not race based. Because it seems like now we're now we have to segregate our population of the workforce. Be well, how many jobs do white people have, but how many do brown people have? And so it seemed like there was record low unemployment in the 4 years of Donald Trump until COVID. But I think that's just because he runs it like a business, and he kind of is just no nonsense, even if he's wrong. And I kind of respect that. Going with a wrong plan and just committing to the plan is better than just flying by the seat of your pants. And that's what I feel like most other people do. They're kind of just going with the flow. They're not the fact that we're even debating this, the fact that this was supposed to be a debate and now instead it's an entire news organization against Trump like we kind of expected it all to be, that's retarded. That is so dumb. It's unbelievably stupid that they obviously set up a debate in the form of Kamala versus Trump or Biden, but it was going to be Kamala in such a slanted field that Kamala would have such a huge advantage there, but it would have backfired. They know. And there's people behind the scenes at in the DNC that are going right now. They're like, we just had one of our candidates shit himself in front of the country. Just absolutely diarrheaed in his pants in front of every single voting person in America. And we had to kick him out. If we put our second up and in a completely unfair situation and she loses, Trump, you might as well make Trump king. You're not only going to get Trump elected, you're going to get whatever next Republican comes up elected, because they're like, we can't trust these people anymore. It's silly. It's dumb. There's so much interpolitics going on behind the front-facing politics that we get to experience. All the stuff behind the scenes is probably nuts right now. There's a 0% chance that most of the people in the Democratic Party want Kamala to run, because judging by how the first 3 minutes of this debate went, he is going to eviscerate Kamala when she gets on stage, and she's going to do a bunch of weird, annoying cackles. And all you're going to have to say about Trump is that he's racist again.
Off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner. I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President?
No, you didn't. Oh my God. If I was just like, you enjoy eating pizza, sir. You really enjoy pizza. And he was like, can you define what pizza is? And you're like, I just said, it's pizza. I've actually just defined it. Pizza. Like, no, I don't know what the word pizza is, so you need to describe it. It's dough and cheese and sauce and toppings. It's like you can put whatever toppings on it, doesn't change the pizza, but it's just that would be it. So not just saying diversity, equity, and inclusion doesn't define what DEI is, because even inside of those terms, it's all meaningless. It's all just buzzwords. It doesn't mean any fucking thing. Nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about. What does DEI mean? When you're accusing me of saying Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, what do you think I mean by that? Because what I'm saying is she was hired not based on her qualifications. Her qualifications got her to a point where she was mixed in with a bunch of hundreds and hundreds of other candidates that were probably more qualified her. She was probably at the bottom end of the qualifications needed to be vice president. But she was picked because of her identity politics. That's what it comes down to. That's what DEI is. Does that make sense? Because I think there was probably an equally qualified person that was running there that was probably more likable, more charismatic, and a better fit for the vice president than Kamala, but they chose her because if you don't vote for Biden, you ain't black.
President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman.
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she went...
She's fucking Blake. She's Blake. She's whatever race is needed. She's one of the... That's so good. Dude, there are certain people in the world that have a talent And that's what it is. It's called being racially ambiguous. And what you get to do is exactly what Blake does. My good friend Blake just gets to pretend to be whatever race he was. He's white enough to look white. He can act white enough to be white. He can act black enough to be black. He can be Indian. He can be Caribbean. You could convince somebody that he's like a weird northern Filipino. But like, it's when running for political office, nothing better than that. Because you can go up to the fucking Cherokee tribe and be like, did you know that I'm actually 0.3% Cherokee? And people will fucking buy it because the second you have a little bit of melanin in your skin, you're just diverse. There's white and then there's diverse. And those are the two races of the current day.
She became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe
I think somebody should...
She what we like to call it is a dolazar. She pulled a dolazar. She was Indian. She was full Indian, doing the little dances, you know. She was, I believe she was in Bollywood. And then she started dating Montel Williams, you know, the guy who sings "This Is How We Do It." No, not that one. The talk show host. Whatever. They're all the same to me. But
you should look into that too when you ask. Continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that interview.
You told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today.
wow, dude, he just reached out for a life vest there. It was like, come on, lady, dude, we're cool, right? I have black friends. And then point at that lady. It's a genius idea. He's a smart man. He's like, look, lady in pink down there, she likes me. Ratings were great. We talked for an hour. It was very civil. Not like this contentious. I would call her uppity. She's one of the uppity ones. I like this one. This is one of the good ones. We keep her inside. I'm sorry. I can't help myself.
I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines...
Really? You're telling me the people at the National Association for Black Journalists believes that we're divided as a country? Can you believe that? Can you believe that there's still segregation in this world at the National Association for Black Journalists? I'm a journalist and I would like to join. Sorry. What's your race? How diverse are you? Can I be a DEI hire for the National Association for Black Journalists? I would love to be the token white guy. Even Wild 'N Out has to have a white guy on it. Come on. You can't just have the National Association for Black Journalists. Because you know what? Dude, I want to be there. Never mind. It's going to get bad.
Of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
Don't say why come. You can't say why come. Why come people be always asking about the black journalists? I gotta stop, dude. This thing is gonna get me in trouble.
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming...
All right. That's either one of the funniest things that Donald Trump has ever said, or he's retarded. And that means that he should even get your vote more. If he's special needs and he's made it to this point, then, like, that's the president we deserve. But if he said that in a comical way, if he went, I believe most of the people at the National Association for Black Journalists are black. I believe that. Maybe some of you are Indian. I don't know. I can't tell you. You know how I get.
Coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, and they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people.
It is retarded that we can't just say, take it, like, I get that you got to cater to the race that you're with, you know? If you can't be with the race you love, then love the race you're with. I think that's how that song goes. But what he is doing here is just as divisive as what they're doing. What he needs to do is they're taking jobs away from Americans. They're taking jobs away from us. All of us. I don't care what your melanin is. It means nothing. But if you're a citizen of America, that's what he used to run on, and I think that's what did kind of unite the side of the party when he was winning. He kind of stopped doing that. He kind of like was resting on his laurels, and that doesn't really work when you can negate all of it by going orange man racist. But I don't know, like, it would be so crazy to think of an actual racist guy who's going to go to be interviewed, let alone if he thought this was going to be a debate at the National Association for Black Journalists. Why would he go there? That doesn't make any sense. It would be obviously leaning away from him. Like, why? People should be proud of this. He's walking into the dragon's den. He's walking right into the lion's mouth and just sitting there calmly answering questions, not flubbing anything, confidently saying whatever it is, even if it's nonsense, like, I believe most of the people here are black. That was fucking hilarious. If you were just going in this without political brain rot and going like this, you'd go, this is the candidate that we need. This is exactly what it is. Because if you think that he has the ability to hide secrets and stuff like that, and he can't. It just fucking, he diarrhea mouths everything. So it's like, I'm surprised we don't all have the nuke codes sent to us on Amber Alerts. Because, like, he's probably the most transparent person in the world. You can read exactly what he thinks before he even says it.
People, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs.
What do you mean by these people? Come on.
And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
Sure.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something.
This is one of the most retarded statements I've ever heard. Yeah, well, I would like to talk about black communities. Although black communities aren't all the same, some of them are white communities. They're like, there's no such, like, black community, like, it's so frustrating to be like, yeah, okay, so you mean America, right? That would be, like, the correct answer. If you just answered everything with America and then just say Hulk Hogan called me a gladiator, like, you win the goddamn election. Let's not be fucking, like, everybody is like, the amount of people that are going to vote that also watched this, or even a debate, or even know anything outside of blue good, red bad, or red good, blue bad. Like that's all anybody knows. Fucking the amount of people who fucking watched this are all voting for Robert Kennedy. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's retarded what's going on here. And that's why I love it, because I am also retarded. Let's go. Anybody watching politics, talking about politics, or involved in politics should be on an IEP in school. They need special help because they are mentally deficient. The ability to even just talk in circles means that like you're AI or something like that. It's crazy the fact that what's going on here. Nobody's answering a question and nobody said anything. Except that I think Kamala's Indian. It was the best takeaway so far.
That bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to...
Dude, this chick actually might love Trump because she just set him up for like a slam dunk. Like, well, we obviously know that is due to the current administration. And Kamala is part of that. She's making major decisions. They says she's meeting with Biden every day to make decisions. So obviously, under my administration, black unemployment was at record lows. And look at what's going on now. So obviously, we need to make the change back to me. Like, it's so easy.
Money.
So
this lady's giving her a death stare because she knows that's what's coming.
Well, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment. Because I guess, this woman...
Fucking love this. If you don't love this, you're gay. You're gay and dumb. Dude, pretending that you don't like politics is also gay. That's so funny. It's like politics is great. It's like WWE for old people who just use it's like Nana Boo Boo on the biggest scale possible. We're on the world stage going, yeah, but of course they can't get their shit together. Everything sounds a little wonky here. So I don't think I understood your question fully, but let me answer it anyway.
Was unable to get the right equipment, but it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster.
Can't fuck with him because most people, including myself, like if you were up on stage in front of millions of people and there was some sort of technical glitch going on, I would try to cover it up. There's constantly things, and of everything that I've run, there's constant problems going on. I only bring up the worst of the worst when it's actually falling apart. I'm just in here panicking inside my own head. And I feel like the average person, if they were just having shit cut out in their ear, or they can't hear it in the studio, or their mic staticky or something like that, you would just try to ignore it and sound stupid. And then after the fact, give the excuse, be like, oh yeah, their microphones were, and then everyone would call you an idiot because you'd be like, oh, I'm making excuses because you're dumb. And that's what would happen. But instead, Trump just goes, I can't really hear you because your shit sucks. Everything here is gay and dumb. If there was a little bit more diversity, if you know what I mean, we'd be able to get this stuff set up.
Disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster.
Technical problems, maybe someone could call Kamala.
It's every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or more.
So what do you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going, and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer it toward him. But ultimately it's the same, because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policy.
That is an interesting point, is that what Kamala kind of gets to do, and is kind of gross, is that he's going to get to have to point out everything that the Biden administration has done, and she's going to go, well, that's not me. I know, I would change. Well, I would do this differently. When I'm in control, I would do it completely differently. But it's like, you're still part of the administration. You have to take some of it. If Biden was the vice president before, you would get credit or repercussions of his economy.
They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of,
as you say,
efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity?
You're asking me what a DEI hire was before? I think we have our answer.
In your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again, why would...
They're going to be charging the officer. I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths.
That's weird.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
You go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have, the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a, you know, life and death decision. And sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. You know, I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse.
Dude.
I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent, and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We cover you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over onto
I didn't
different topics
notice you
now.
do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case.
Why does it?
This is
like, I think that's what you have to do to take down a guy like this is call him racist or have some sort of thing on him and be like, dude, he's literally a Nazi. Because, like, if just average Joe Blow American should just love this guy. He's taken a liking to one person on the stage, and he disagrees heavily with another person and feels like she has a snotty attitude, which she does. And he's showing it. He's in, like, the politest way he knows how to, telling this bitch, shut the fuck up, you're an idiot. And she kind of is. She's got, like, it's like, you shouldn't, I think even when you're at the Black Journalist Association, you should try to be as unbiased as possible. But you know that that's not going to cater to most of your audience because it's like if you're black, you're blue. So that's what you have to do. So you sit up there in your bright blue suit because you got to know you got to know what party you stand for. And everybody in the crowd just wants you to be like, oh, all your friends are like, oh, you're really going to stick it to Trump, aren't you? And so all your friends are watching and you're going to say the hard-hitting questions, but you just come up like a bitch.
Attack on a political opponent. I have another one where
Sir,
I have
if you
a
don't mind,
hostile
I'd love
judge.
we have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse you,
if we
you're the
can.
one that held me up at 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move.
Black people love this. You guys are losing. Everybody in there was just like, yeah, he wanted to answer the question and you guys took too long. Don't rush him.
On now to the state of the race, sir. I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said.
Now, J.D. Vance fucks couches. What do you have to say about that?
He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate, and do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family-oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your
and I think
position?
I'm speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person.
She even just steamrolls her fucking friends on the stage. She just wants to get one clip of her owning Trump so that can just be her benchmark thing, her stepping stone into real journalism. that would be the most insulting thing to say to this lady. But like, yeah, what you want to get out of the minor leagues, right, and get into real journalism? Oh, watch her lose her mind.
In one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening. A long time, you're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. Yeah. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why
did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard.
I'll tell you why. I chose.
That's so funny. This is the biggest thing that your shitty organization is going to pull off, and you can't get it right. The only people that need to really hear each other. You can record all of this, even if it didn't go out for your audience and stuff like that. These are the only people that need to hear each other to make this coherent. And you fucked it up. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and
loves
woman
Rush.
who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected. Mm-hmm. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult, with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the Law Journal. I mean, that's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years. Got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually. Did public offerings and other things. And
I guess you have to list off a bunch of nonsense, but you should have just said that. You should have said business. We're going to run this shit like a business, and we're going to get things on track. We're going to bring in more money than we're putting out, and that's it.
Respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family, but he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. And so, Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot.
You have like a bajillion dollars. It's crazy. You have more money than Meta is going to pay Texas. And you can't fix that gobbledygook thing because it does look like you're like stretching, like a turtle stretching out of its shell in your suit. It's crazy. And they made you face that way. I don't know if that's like a psyop on purpose to make that happen, but it's like crazy. Like, is there no surgery to I guess, dude, it would be a whole story. Trump gets rid of gobbledygook.
We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that,
I cannot understand. Your microphone
I know,
is so
it is really hard for me to understand
it's just,
you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because
Whoa.
she's closer.
I can understand.
It's very odd that you put the shrill, annoying one beside me that I could hear very clearly, but the one that seems to like me and we get along and we had a great interview all the way over there and her mic cuts out. Jesus.
I'm happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really happy to hear
understand,
that.
Harris,
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance and the mics are
Holy shit. I have a few more questions.
are really in lousy shape, but I cannot understand
Are you
So,
asking a question?
what you're saying. Go
so
ahead.
what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring, you know, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen, you said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But
That's
I will
a
say
good
this,
question. That lady is the only fucking journalist on this fucking table. The middle lady is reading questions from somebody else, probably like a Democratic donor or something like that. The one lady in blue has a bone to pick and needs it now. The other lady on the end in pink is asking genuine journalism questions. That is a great question. You were almost killed and now you're putting a 35-year-old in office. Do you think he's ready to be president on day one when we kill you? I mean, when somebody takes an assassination.
And I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons than what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in.
JD Vance?
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, my point
but at
is
least
here.
it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is, do you think
There's so much. Oh, dude, there's so much going on here. She is pissed at herself, and she's so nervous. She wants to get one. I don't know who the fuck is writing these questions because she has to read them verbatim and doesn't remember a single word from it. The blue lady is so smug, and the lady in red, I think she's voting Trump now. I think Trump just converted half the audience and a third of the stage.
I think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying.
I don't think, look, I think that
What is the fucking
Democrat
question?
Party is
Is a question. We're getting too judgy about people's lives. What the fuck are you talking about? That's, I think, government's design is to be judgy about our lives. Somehow, somewhere along the way, that's what it's become.
really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the
But
death.
I think it's
They're
about
allowing
freedom,
the
right?
death of a baby after the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the
that
governor
is
of
illegal in
Virginia.
every state in the
That's
country.
Based on the governor of Virginia,
Executing a
they're
baby in
allowing the
every
death
state
of
in
the
the country
baby
is illegal.
after it's born.
It's a
They're
crime.
allowing abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well,
of
Democrats
pregnancy.
have denied
I think they're right. And I
That's
think
the
the
thing.
Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps. But the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservative, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it. Everybody
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being overturned.
They
Multiple
don't know
polls have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look, right now they're doing, it's an amazing thing, out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing. A little bit surprising to a lot of people.
I get it that it's
But
like it's a dramatic thing for right now. It's like if you were pregnant and looking for an abortion right now and that gets overturned, that's probably super dramatic for your life. But most of the time, this would just be the ideal situation. You take it down to its core where you go like, all right, if you live in Texas, you better start voting for people who want abortion because that's the only way it's going to get approved here. If you can't, you got to move. That's pretty much that's what it is. It's like if you are the minority in your entire area, your entire state, then that's kind of how laws work. It's just like that's how morality works in general. We kind of all just agree that something is right. Like we go, that's good. That's why we are able to justify bad things throughout history. So what happens is an area goes, well, I think you should be able to get abortions. My body, my right. So they approve it under their state law. And then the state next door goes, absolutely not. Every baby's precious. No abortions whatsoever. And they wipe it clean. And as time goes on, it kind of just molds into what each state wants to be. And if you can't stand your state and you keep voting adamantly every single election, you campaign for the side that's trying to get abortions and it doesn't work, you need to leave. You're not in the right spot. You're not in agreement with it. You're exacerbating the entire area because everybody else seems to agree one way, and there's a place right down the road or fucking 5 states over, wherever it may be. There's always going to be New York and California. There's always going to be those places that are super liberal. There's always going to be like a Montana that probably doesn't even give a fuck. Probably get abortions in the forest in Montana.
The people are now voting, and it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Most people believe in the 3 exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position.
I have no idea under what context he was saying that. He was in like a fucking radio interview and he did just say that and it was crazy. And then now he's not the governor. So, but I don't think that was ever, I think that was like a policy proposed. That was the idea. Pretty sure nobody ever said that we get to execute babies.
People don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82,
No.
which is older than Biden is right now.
But not
Would you-
mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people.
Would you
Most people. I know many people in their
Yeah.
80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would make,
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That was a nasty, that wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
if you
ask
can
me a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated
You can
your
answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually.
You said you would. You would
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well, can
got
I
them.
just-
I took 2 of them. But let me ask.
Yeah.
Did one
I would
person
like to
woo for
have
that? Hell yeah.
People running for president. And I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
Holy shit, that look right there was like, damn, he fucking nailed this question. This is like when like a pitcher lobs one over the plate, and then this is what your outfielders look like. You're like, are you fucking serious, dude?
He has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country. She has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test?
Mr. President.
I would love to
And
do
make
it
it public.
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr. President, how do you intend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President,
Are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear, you don't think Harris
How do you
giving the
intend,
facts. She
and
didn't
look,
pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it. I
She
guess
did pass it.
There's a
She
man
did-
over
she
here.
did
I
in
think
fact
he
pass it.
must work for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots.
Sure. Yep.
140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just...
They included a guy who just happened to have a stroke on January 6th. Like, he wasn't even at the riot. But did you know that a police officer had a stroke on January 6th in Ohio? Did you know that? And do you feel resentment for what you did? Do you feel remorseful for that man? There was an officer in Nebraska, retired, had a heart attack. His family devastated on January 6th. He was watching CNN's coverage of it and couldn't take it. And that's blood on your hands, sir. How do you feel about that?
mentioned patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying.
Why
these
would you,
incredible-
dude, that is a genius. Like, why would you bring that up? Literally 5 days before, where the people were burning flags and went into the Capitol the exact same way. It was identical to January 6th, if not a little more inflammatory. But there was less crazy people I guess that's what it was. There was less I wouldn't say that. Less outwardly. Oh no, there were trans people there. I was gonna say less crazy people with makeup on dressing up like things that they aren't. But no, there were that. No, yeah, it was the same. It was the exact same thing.
Monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to burn?
My question is on those rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to
would you pardon those people?
What's going to happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them? How come the people
But sir, we're talking about people that were seen beating officers with flagpoles, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well,
you would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know, people died in Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what.
He calls it J6, which makes it sound super cool. Dude, he's hip, dude. He's got that Skibbity Ohio riz where he's like, dude, those J6ers? Yo, shout out to my J6ers out there. That's what he should call his fan base. Yo, my J6ers need to go out there and vote. Because come J6 too, you know what's happening. You know what's happening. We taking the Capitol back. Let's go. J6-2. J6-2.
And I'm all for the police, as you know. But what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in, go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life. But you have people from Minneapolis. You have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C. They were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases, and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do I do? I close the border.
Yo, that's another solid question. God damn it, this is the only journalist. She's asking nonpartisan questions. She's going in there and going, let's find out policy. Let's figure out, let's just stop saying Trump's a racist. Let's figure out what he's actually standing for. What does he do day one? What do you do day one? That's how you catch someone. If you actually want to get someone in a gotcha, you don't like try and fucking line them up. Trump's too good at that game. He must play chess or some shit, because he plays verbal chess. He always knows the right answer to not sound like the loser in the argument. It doesn't matter if you follow the sources and he's actually wrong. What it sounds like to just a modern normal person is he won that argument. That exchange there, he won. He's winning against 3 people and an entire crowd that are against him. And that's crazy. People love a fucking Rocky story, and you're giving it to him. He's the front runner. He should be winning, and you keep putting him in positions where he looks like he's the underdog. It's crazy. It's like they want him to win. She asked, what are you gonna do day one? He's gonna go free pussy and blowjobs for everyone.
And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. We want people. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do I do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich.
Bacon! Yes, LPS. Welcome. Hi. Bacon. That's what we're here for. We're here for fucking bacon.
So that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right?
This has been the greatest debate.
Thank you. I like you very much.
I guess in the world. It's been hilarious. This is high level middle school yo mama jokes is what's been going on here. This is great. And I want bacon. Bacon, bacon, bacon. Let's make bacon great again. Dude, that's the slogan. He's changed it to like make America great once again. It's the dumbest, gayest slogan ever. Make bacon affordable again. USA, USA. USA.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up, and then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car. Okay, I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car, but. You know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline,
bacon-propelled car
than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in are taking your jobs.
Are we living in South Park? We're living in South Park. He just took our jobs at us. He just fucking took our jobs. Is this a real life? He just literally went, they took our job, they take your job, they take your jobs. And he's gonna, this is amazing. This is fucking, they took your bacon, they took your bacon, they took my bacon, they took our bacon. Bacon, bacon. This is amazing, dude. This is crazy. That lady in pink literally wants him to win. The lady in blue wants him to be shot again. And the lady in the middle doesn't know where she is. She's just reading a script.
2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great honor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
NABJ will email about details regarding the conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris in September. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
What is this music? Was that two songs playing over each other? I'm telling you, the National Association for Black Journalism, not great. You didn't put your best foot forward here. The entire time Trump's complaining that he can't hear, that you guys were 35 minutes late because you couldn't figure out your shit. That one lady on the end, the only lady that seemed like she liked Trump, or not even liked Trump, was just an actual journalist and actually asking questions. Couldn't be heard. She was so far away and there was so much reverb and stuff he couldn't hear. And then the cunt that was beside just wasn't even asking questions. It was just like, you're racist. And he would like go like, I don't believe I'm actually racist. Just like, what is a black job? And then he was like, he asked her for the definition of DEI, and she just said it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. He's like, what does a DEI hire mean? And he's like, what's the definition? She's like, I already explained that. It's like, no, you didn't. You just said the acronym. Oh, it was just that lady was a bitch. And the lady in the middle was so lost. She was an actual DEI hire. This was crazy. I loved every second of it. Thank you, LPS. Thank you, the couple tards in the chat. Thank you, everybody. I'm out of here because Jesus Christ, I just had an aneurysm. I don't even know if that was good for Trump. It seemed like it was. I think he convinced a couple of people. I have no idea. Vote libertarian. You guys are all fucked. The world's coming to an end. Good luck. We're all fucked.